Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Liam Paro. He's got a big fight coming up this Thursday in Brisbane at Pat Rafter Arena. He's taking on Frenchman David Papot in an IBF title eliminator. So let's talk about it. Liam Paro, we all know who he is. The former IBF super lightweight world champion. Currently 26 wins, 16 knockouts, 1 loss. He's coming off a good win over Jonathan Thunder Navarro in June, round 5 victory. Navarro retiring in his corner after being dropped with 20 or 30 seconds left of that fight, nose busted up. It was a great left hand that Liam Paro landed on him, and you could tell by Navarro in that corner he wasn't getting back up. It was a good win, first win for Liam Paro at welterweight after losing the belt to Richardson Hitchens back in 2024 in December. That split decision loss, making Richardson Hitchens the new super lightweight world champion. I thought Liam Paro was going to keep chasing super lightweight glory, but he can no longer make the weight, so he's made the decision to step up to welterweight. Not a huge welterweight of Liam Paro. You can tell that he's going to definitely be giving up size in this division. And David Papot, the first opponent that he's going to experience that with, because David Papot, he's listed as a few inches taller than him, but today at the face-off, after the press conference, you could tell that the height isn't major. It's definitely an inch, maybe 2 in it, but not anything that you'd say Liam Paro is going to struggle to reach him. David Papot, though, someone that has fought at middleweight, so he's definitely going to be the heavier fighter on the night. That will be something that Liam Paro has to learn to get used to, because some of the champions that he could come up against in this division, they're big as well. So, David Papot, 34 years old, French, 30 wins, 5 knockouts, 1 draw, 0 losses. Current IBF International and WBO Global Welterweight Champion. He's also ranked number 5 by the WBO and number 8 by IBF. Good fighter, not a lot of footage out there, so the only footage that I could see we're going to go off. Even his last fight I couldn't find any footage of, but there is some footage floating around there. He's someone that he sort of fights a lot of the fight with his hands down, prefers to move out of the way of shots rather than block them. But that gives openings for shots being landed to the head, the way that he was sort of very comfortable with his hands down, but sometimes that comfortability can become complacency, and you can leak shots, especially when you haven't come up against someone as high level as Liam Paro will be. For David Papot, a lot of those people on his record are nowhere near the level of Liam Paro, and this is definitely a massive step up for David Papot. Most of David Papot's fights have been within France, and against people that, like I said, are nowhere near the top 20 within welterweight, never alone someone as good as Liam Paro, a former world champion. And the one thing that always strikes me about David Papot is he's gotten to 30 wins but only 5 stoppages, which means Liam Paro should be able to get in very close in this fight, even if the height issue is a problem, and not really worry about the power coming back at him. Obviously, the only power that Liam Paro will have to worry about is the fact that it is welterweight power, not super lightweight power. And you know what? David Papot, from what I've seen, likes to get in close in some fights, but looks most comfortable when he's sort of back against the ropes, dancing around the ring, in and out of the pocket, not getting close. And a big thing will be in this fight is the fact that they're both southpaws, especially if David Papot comes into this fight wanting to really get into a phone booth with Liam Paro rather than staying on the outside. Head clashes, their feet will be stepping all over each other, so it'll be a good contest, depending on which way David Papot wants to arrange this. It'll either be Liam Paro trying to chase David Papot around and get him into a corner, or it'll be a phone booth fight, a bit like what Liam Paro had with Sabril Matias. And I think Liam Paro is comfortable with either way of fighting. For me, in terms of predictions, I think Liam Paro stops David Papot over 12 rounds. I don't think David Papot will stop Liam Paro. I think David Papot will try and seek out a points decision but I think Liam Paro will close him down and he'll stop the show. Depending on how big David Papot comes, if David Papot's in that ring at middleweight weight with that much padding, Liam Paro might struggle to get him out of there. But I think Liam Paro has got much more skill than David Papot, and I'm tipping Liam Paro to stop him probably late in the contest. Which brings me to another conversation that I do want to have, because I just watched the press conference and this is named an IBF title eliminator. Obviously, there's lots of politics within boxing, whether this actually becomes a title eliminator and Liam Paro gets a IBF mandatory, which would grant him Lewis Crocker. It will be interesting to see where Liam Paro goes from this fight. Obviously, if it is an IBF title eliminator, it should become mandatory. But like I said, it doesn't always work that easily. Lewis Crocker spoke in his post-fight interview after beating Paddy Donovan on the weekend that he's seeking Conor Benn. And in a division like welterweight, I think there's plenty of openings for Liam Paro. I don't think he has to stress too much about Lewis Crocker if he doesn't get that fight, because there's huge names in the division and there's plenty of people with a belt in that division that I think he can beat. They spoke, George Rose, the manager of Liam Paro, did speak about what they're thinking if Liam Paro was to get the win here this week, this Thursday. And he was talking that they've got good relations with PBC. And one name that keeps coming up is Manny Pacquiao. Now, I don't like that idea. If I was the one talking to Liam Paro, I'd be telling Liam Paro, buddy, there's belts here that you can take, and you can start dictating things within the division. That's where I would have my eyes set. I would not worry about what Manny Pacquiao's doing. Obviously, it's a big money fight, but if Liam Paro's looking for legacy, looking for success, looking for becoming a dominant force within welterweight, I would just ignore everything that Manny Pacquiao's doing, because I think there's an opportunity for Liam Paro to go and get himself a belt. And then once you have the belt, then you start dictating having these fights. Then you say, I want Manny Pacquiao. I'll have a belt and I'll have the money fight. You get more money. There's more hype around it. There's a belt there, rather than just taking the sort of Manny Pacquiao fight that doesn't have a lot on the line and you're not going to really gain much from beating him at that point. And why I say this is because from what I'm hearing and seeing and what I'm thinking that after this fight, Liam Paro might not get the mandatory against Lewis Crocker. And if that's so, I think Liam Paro should be looking firmly at Mario Barrios. Manny Pacquiao's number one in that division. You go and try and get a fight with Mario Barrios. He's with WBC. Get that deal done. I think Liam Paro smokes Mario Barrios. And then, hey, you've got your number one contender in the money fight that you want sitting right there. Obviously, there's Rolly Romero sitting around. I don't know what he's planning on doing. Brian Norman Jr. is fighting Haney. There's other names in the division like Esserman and Catterall and Garcia and Ben and Stanionis. None of those fights really grab me. With Liam Paro so highly ranked, if he wins this fight, I'm saying you go and get yourself a belt and then you start choosing who you're going to fight. Lewis Crocker, obviously an Irish fighter wanting Conor Benn. Both will be happy to do it on DAZN. That fight seems really, really easy to make, and I feel like that fight might be made, depending on how Ben and Eubank get on, to be honest, as well. So we'll have to wait and see for Liam Paro. Hopefully he can get through this fight. Like I said, I'm tipping him for a late stoppage. I don't see David Papot winning this fight. It'll be whether Liam Paro can get him out of there late or whether he'll win on a decision. All right, let's just quickly touch in on the rest of the card. Not even the rest of the card, because there is a few fights there that are a bit here or there. So we'll talk of Liam Wilson first. Liam Wilson will take on Jorge Santana for the WBO International Lightweight. This is going to be 10-round bout. Liam Wilson coming off a good win against Ayrton Osma Jimenez. In terms of, well, he got through it and he got the decision and it was a comfortable win. But was I impressed with what Liam Wilson threw up there? No. I did speak about it in the post-fight reaction that I thought Liam Wilson looked poor. I thought that wasn't someone that you grant a world title to. And if he wants to win a world title, you have to fight a lot better than what he did against someone that really offered very little in Ayrton Osma Jimenez. That fight was back in June. Before that, Liam Wilson had those 2 tough fights against Yusuf Dib. The one in July of 2024 where he won by 8th round knockout, and the one in March of this year winning by unanimous decision. You look at those 2 fights now and think he really struggled in both fights to really dominate Yusuf Dib, someone that just got beaten quite comfortably by Jake Wiley. So I'm looking at that and saying, Liam Wilson, you've got to step it up here. You can't keep looking back at that fight against Emmanuel Navarrete and what could have been. You've got to focus on the here and the now and moving on and trying to get another shot at that world title. And that only comes with you fighting very well. And from the last few fights, I wouldn't go as far as saying that we're seeing someone there that deserves a shot at the world title. He needs to come into this fight and dispatch of Jorge Santana. I don't rate Jorge Santana very highly, and I think Liam Wilson needs to come out there and make a statement and show, I'm talking early stoppage, good win, and move on to the next one. Jorge Santana, 24-year-old, Dominican Republic, native, 15 wins, 9 knockouts, 1 loss. Look, I'm looking at Liam Wilson and saying, this guy's coming for the first time overseas. Just dispatch of him, destroy him, get rid of him, and prove yourself and prove everybody else that, hey, I deserve to be spoken about at the table when it comes to who's getting the next title shot. For me, Liam Wilson needs to step it up from the last few things that I've seen him do. All right, just to talk about a last bit of news that's sort of come out about this fight card. I'm not going to talk much about the rest of the undercard and the prelims because there's too much going on there. We've got Brock Jarvis. His fight with Ken Aitken has been cancelled. Brock Jarvis requiring surgery on his shoulder, so he will not be making the trip up for that fight. I was surprised with Brock Jarvis's turnaround. He only fought the 20th of August, so less than a month between fights. But Brock Jarvis unfortunately now requiring surgery, which is a bit of a shame for him. He got a good win. He was ready to get back in the ring again. I love when fighters do that. When you're young and you're still trying to build up to a world title or you're trying to get a shot at big names, stay active. If you're not injured and you've just won a fight and you've not taken any damage, get back in there as soon as possible. And this is what Brock Jarvis was trying to do, so I can't hate a man on doing that. Unfortunately for him, he's going to be set back a little bit with that shoulder injury. This would have been his 3rd fight this year, which is very good considering how the year started for him. But unfortunately for Brock Jarvis, we're going to have to wait and see for 2026. Other names on the card, Paulo Acuso and Floyd Mason, both their own individual bouts were scheduled. Paulo Acuso's original opponent had visa issues, and now there's contract negotiations going on. Same with Floyd Mason, there's problems with his opponent. So where those two sit and whether they're going to be there on Thursday night is still up in limbo, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But their original opponents will not be fighting. I believe they're both in negotiations with other opponents, so they can both still appear on the card though. Alright guys, that is all for today. Leave all your thoughts about these fights in the comments below. What do we think Liam Paro is going to do against David Papot? And if he does win, I'm sort of jumping the gun here because I do think he's going to destroy David Papot. What next for him? Does he get that Lewis Crocker bout, or are we going to see him have to search alternative options for a world title or just a big fight for him? Because Liam Paro for me is a world champion. Leave all your thoughts in the comments below. Like, subscribe if you're new, and I'm out of here guys. See ya.